UN cuts down 100,000 Amazon trees to make way for climate change summit. The hypocrisy never stops when it comes to the leftists, when it comes to the elites. They cut down 100,000 Amazon trees for climate change. For a climate change summit, I should say. These people are ridiculous. They're not really serious. They really don't believe in the stuff that they're spewing, because if they did, they wouldn't be doing half the stuff that they're doing. They wouldn't be jet setting around the world in their private jets. They would fly commercial like everyone else. They would they wouldn't have multiple homes, which is a drain on our systems. They wouldn't have multiple cars. All these things that they tell us not to do to quote unquote save the environment are the exact same things that they're not doing. And we call them out on it time and time again, and they continue to do these things. This is how you know they're not really serious. This is why no one really believes in this whole climate change stuff. But we're going to talk about it. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button. Share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. There's a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from Slay News, and they report that the United Nations is facing backlash after reports confirm that around 100,000 trees were cut down in the Amazon rainforest to build new roads and infrastructure for its upcoming COP30 climate change summit. Do you not understand how many trees that is? 100,000 trees they cut down? These people are diabolical. The conference is set to take place in the Brazilian city of Belém in November. It will bring an estimated 70,000 delegates and activists to the region to discuss saving the planet and protecting biodiversity. Oh my gosh, this is crazy, right? Like this seems like The Onion. It doesn't seem real. To accommodate the massive influx of attendees, construction crews have carved an 8-mile, 4-lane highway. I'm gonna try to pronounce this word, Avenida Liberdade, directly through a dense section of the Amazon forest. The development has destroyed one of the world's most critical ecosystems in the name of climate diplomacy, right? Environmental observers estimate that roughly 100,000 mature trees were logged to complete the project, causing widespread disruption to local wildlife habitats. I bet 100,000 is a lot of freaking trees, man. Protecting the planet by destroying it. That's what they believe. We have to come out here. We have to go to this exact spot and kill 100,000 trees to fix the planet. Make that make sense. Please make that make sense. The revelation has fueled accusations of hypocrisy against the United Nations and its climate conference organizers, who have repeatedly urged developing countries to stop deforestation, and cut carbon emissions. Critics argue that the very act of bulldozing part of the Amazon, considered a key carbon sink, undermines the UN's own message. That's right, because supposedly they said that CO2 is bad. They say it's bad, but trees eat the CO2. They live off the CO2 and turn it into oxygen. So you would think you would want more trees to fight CO2 if that's what you believe is harmful for the environment. For sake of argument, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to say it's true or not. Let's just say you do believe in that. So why would you cut down 100,000 trees? The project's construction equipment and the loss of vegetation that once absorbed CO2 are expected to generate significant carbon emissions, something which the UN claims is one of the key drivers in global warming, if you believe that, right? Adding to the irony, COP30 is being billed as a milestone summit for global climate justice and forest preservation. You can't make this stuff up, man. These people are evil. These people are so evil. Data contradicts the narrative. While the world leaders prepare to gather in Belém to warn of a supposed climate emergency, Recent research published in Nature Plants paints a different picture of the Amazon's health. The study found that increased levels of atmospheric CO2 have caused the Amazon's trees to grow larger and stronger, with mature trees expanding more than 6% per decade over the last 30 years. So this abundance of CO2 is actually making our plants grow bigger. Duh. That's like science 101, right? Scientists analyzing 188 forest plots across the Amazon concluded that the region's biomass is thriving, not collapsing. You know, the exact opposite of what the fearmonger's been telling us. They described the growth as more than alleviating any recent negative climate effects. Wow. That is huge. That is huge, huge news right there. So it's actually offsetting the stuff that they say they want us to offset. What these plants are, these trees are. In fact, in even some places where there were desert, there's actually greenery being growing in certain places in desert areas now. This finding directly contradicts decades of UN-backed climate models predicting forest collapse. UN climate elites' carbon footprint. The UN's annual climate conference have long faced criticism for their massive carbon footprints. Because think about it. They could just go, we got the internet now. They don't have to travel all the way, these thousands upon thousands of miles, and destroy all of these trees to get their message, out. They can just have a Zoom meeting and talk about these things. But no, they don't want to do that. That's because they really don't care about the environment. And a lot of the things they've been saying about the environment is not true. And they know this. That's why they don't really care about chopping down 100,000 trees. COP29 in Azerbaijan drew similar scrutiny for producing tens of thousands of tons of CO2 from air travel alone, with many attendees arriving in private jets, what I was just alluding to earlier. COP30 is expected to surpass those emissions as tens of thousands of globalist politicians, bureaucrats, and activists fly to the Amazon for a week of speeches on reducing carbon emissions. Observers have noticed that the UN's climate gatherings have evolved into sprawling political events, often hosted in luxury accommodations built at environmental expense. Do as we say, not as we do. That is the mantra of these elites, right? The destruction of 100,000 Amazon trees for a climate conference has become a defining symbol of what critics call the do as we say, not as we do hypocrisy of the global climate establishment. Even as the UN demands that nations sacrifice energy independence and economic growth in the name of carbon neutrality, its own projects continue to generate pollution and destroy the very ecosystems it claims to protect. For many around the world, COP30 now stands not as a monument to environmental protection, but as a powerful illustration of the global elite's double standard on climate change. Facts. It's more hypocrisy for the elites. And these are the same elites that told you to stay in your home during the COVID crisis. These are the same ones that tell you you don't need your vehicles, ride public transportation. These are the same elites that tell you not to fly commercial. If you do, only fly like once a year. But yet they're doing these things. These people are evil, diabolical. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.